So hello and welcome to this tutorial series on ArmorPaint and how to set up your models for import and usage in ArmorPaint. And you know what? Blast the introduction, let's just jump right in it. So I've got a mailbox here, as you can see inside of Blender, and if I move it around you can see that this mailbox is composed of many different parts. And that's fine, for example, if you're planning on animating parts or doing special things with each part. It's very practical, very useful for modeling. But ArmorPaint tends to struggle with different objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit A until I've selected everything, or Control A depending on which Blender build you have. And I'm going to do Control J. And as you can see, this joined all of these objects into one solid object. So when I go in edit mode now, I can select all of the vertices of this object. And the next step is going to be to UV unwrap this object. So I'm going to open a tab here on the side. I'm going to head over to the UV editor over here. And as you can see, it's already UV unwrapped for some reason, but it's a mess. It's not going to work in ArmorPaint. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit on the mesh here, try to get it to work a little bit better because there are many n-gons. N-gons are just faces with more than four vertices actually attached to them. So I'm going to start by converting this to triangles by using the triangulate modifier. I'm going to hit apply, so now you can see everything is in triangles. And then I'm going to hit A until everything is selected, and I'm going to hit Alt J, and this will convert the triangles to quads again. But it's only going to convert the triangles that it believes should or can be converted back into quads. And so that's quite useful. And it's going to help to just clean things up a little bit for me with this particular mesh. It might not work with every mesh, but for this case, it helps a lot. Now I'm going to save, always save, and I'm going to UV unwrap. So we go in edit mode, select all the vertices, hit U, and you have multiple options here. You can choose whatever you want. Smart UV project is quite a popular one, but as you can see, there's a lot of room here that's just wasted, that all these pixels are information that's not going to be used. So I'm going to hit U and I'm going to use the light map pack. I'm going to put the pack quality all the way up to 48 while we're at it. And here for the island margin, or for the margin, I'm going to give it a quite big margin. I'm going to use 0.25. You can probably get away with 2 or 0.15. And I'm going to use 0.25 just to make sure everything is all right. I'll hit OK. It's going to crunch a few numbers. And as you can see, it's using all of the pixels in the texture space much more efficiently this way. Now I'm a little worried about these pointy areas here. They tend to cause issues, but we'll just have to go with it. You can spend more time ironing out the issues in the UV unwrap for your particular mesh. So from here now we can move ahead and create a color ID map. And the color ID map is going to basically allow us to paint in ArmorPaint on specific sections without painting on other sections. It just makes our life a lot easier. And so in order to do that, we're going to head over to the texture paint mode. So you can see everything is pink here. And that's because if we hit N and go into tools, you can see that it's set to material and there's no texture here. So we're going to create a texture, but first I'm actually going to head over to single image. And now we can click on new to create a new image. I'm going to call this image color ID map. And you can use the resolution you want. I'm going to go for a higher resolution of 2048. As long as it's a square resolution, it should work pretty well. The plain black color is fine. I'm going to turn off alpha because we don't really need a transparent channel on a color ID map, and hit OK. And as you can see now, the mailbox turns black and I can paint on it just like that. Now what we're going to be using is the paint bucket tool, or the fill tool, and as you can see when I click here it fills the whole mailbox, but it's not filling with perfect strength. For a color ID map, what you want is a plain color with absolutely no shade variations in it, and that's obviously not going to work as it is now. So we're going to go under strength and I'm going to put this all the way up to 1, and now when I click, there you go, it works. As you can see, the paint is actually painting outside of our UV unwrap, and that's why we put a large island margin. It seems to be doing alright with the triangles, but there are some places where it's missing it here, so we're going to have a few glitches in our color ID map. As you can see here in the corners, these places are still black, but as I said, you can spend more time ironing those out on your own. If you're not happy with how much it's spilling out here, this is called the bleed option, and it's, if you scroll down under tool, scroll down to options, you can change the amount of bleed pixels, for example from 2 to 3 to however much you want. As you can see, when I select 3, it makes everything larger, and we can actually get away with 3, but I don't think it's necessary, but I'll still leave it there. So now we're running into an issue. We want to paint, for example, if I select the flag and I hit Control L, I'll select all of the flag, because this Control L selects all of the vertices and edges that are linked together. So I just selected the whole flag. If I go back in Texture Paint, how do I do to now paint only this flag red? If I click, it's going to paint everything. So how do I do to paint only the flag or the vertices or faces that I've selected? Well, the answer is this very intuitively placed button up here called Face Selection Masking for Painting. Yeah, I'm just kidding. It's being ironic. It's not very intuitive. Once you know it's there, it works pretty well, but it can be a little difficult to find out. So I'm going to paint this flag red, and as you can see, it now works. It painted the whole flag red, and the rest stayed the color it was. And I'm going to go back in Edit Mode. I'm going to select the box can here. Go back in Texture Paint. I'm going to make this one. Here, let's make this one black. Go back in Edit Mode. I'm going to select the front, and I'm going to make this one, let's say, green. And you can make each section whatever color your heart desires, as long as it's one full perfect color for each area. The color ID map is going to work just fine. And I'm going to repeat this process for each section that I want to be a different color, so I'll speed this up because it is going to take a little bit. One thing you may want to know is here for these screws, since they're all going to be one object, I'm selecting just one face of the screw by holding Shift and clicking on it, and then I'm going to do Control L, and it's going to select all of the linked objects for each screw, since I've selected a part of each one. And there you go. I think that about covers all of the areas that I want to be a different color, that I want to be able to use as a texture mask. So now, in order to save this color ID map, because this is saved internally, I should probably have said this, even if you save this and go to a coffee break and come back, it's probably going to be gone if you close Blender, because it only saves this internally. You actually have to save this image, and you can click on Save All Images over here, or we can go under Image and click Save As. Now I'm going to use Save As because I want to be able to make sure that down here we have a .png color ID map. You absolutely want to have a PNG, you don't want to have a JPEG. If you do have a JPEG, JPEG is bad. JPEG messes with the colors, and you're going to get weird options. Here's an example of trying with this very mesh to use a .jpeg color ID map. This is the kind of result you can expect because it messes with the compression of the colors, and you don't have one full color anymore. It actually blends the colors together. So you want to be sure that you say this is a .png. Now from here you can either just save and import into ArmorPaint or export from .obj. Now even though you can import the .blend directly into ArmorPaint, I don't suggest it even though it's implemented. I tend to prefer using .obj because it preserves my shading and different things. It just tends to work better in general. It's better implemented. So you go under File, Export, OBJ, and there's not much to change here down in the options. You really don't have to change anything actually. And I'm just going to hit Export OBJ. From there, that should be it. We now have everything we need from Blender. We're ready to move on into ArmorPaint and start painting our mailbox.